What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where I, Kyle, from Kyle Curtin Real Estate, interview local top dogs in the real estate investing, wealth building, and personal finance industries. Let's build together. What's up, guys? This episode of the podcast was super fun with a really cool guest. Kyle and I chatted about some bigger picture aspects of business that were really interesting to get into. In this episode, we talk about possibilities in the business world post-COVID, the huge personal growth that comes from cold calling, keeping a level mindset when you are super stressed out, and so much more. There are some really interesting conversations in this episode, and I hope you enjoy. Let's jump right into the episode. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 30 of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Today, I have the great pleasure to chat with Kyle Hicks, a phenomenal all-around insurance specialist with Liberty Mutual. What's going on, Kyle? How's everything going? How are you, man?
Really can't complain, Kyle. Thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it. It's been great to listen to your podcast grow over the last 29 prior episodes. So I've been a listener every time. It's been great.
Thank you very much. It means a lot. It really does. The
Good.
pleasure is all mine to have you on again. I can't wait to kind of start talking again. But yeah, so if we could kind of like jump right into things, if you could kind of talk a little bit about, what you do, how you kind of got into the insurance industry, like kind of your story, like the areas you cover, all that fun stuff.
Awesome. So as you said, I work for Liberty Mutual. Cool part is I have a backing of a major Fortune 100 company, but I'm kind of like my own little neighborhood insurance agency. Like I can write through a bunch of carriers. I really focus on communication with people and educating them like on the process. Because I mean, growing up, we never really learn about insurance and how important it is, and you never are told like what to have and how much coverage you should have. So it's just an important thing, and that's my favorite part is that just even looking at people's like coverages and things and educating them on that. I got into it because I just like to help people, and I have a sports medicine background, so I'm kind of weird transition. I was an athletic trainer for 11 years prior to my career in insurance at various levels. I worked at Division I all the way down to middle school and just covered all sorts of sports. And I was the guy that ran on the field if you ever got hurt. That was what I did. And so I always liked helping people, but I had the schedule was really taking a toll on me. I worked 7 days a week. Some days would start like 11 and I'd work till like 11 p.m. And I'd be right back there the next morning at like 6. So it was just really weird schedule. Missed a lot of family time, a lot of holidays and things. I saw the writing on the wall. I needed something with a little bit more flexibility. Started applying for jobs. Liberty Mutual gave me a chance, and I liked their like the values of the company itself. They believe in like volunteering outside of work and things like that. And it allowed me to have a little bit more flexible of a lifestyle while still working and learning a new industry. So that's why I ended up kind of where I am. As far as like areas I cover, I handle all Massachusetts. And if I can't write it in a state, someone on my team can. We have all of New England covered, basically almost all the way down the whole East Coast to Florida. And that's the best part about working for a big company. I can find you someone. So if you got, I think I got a call on like a Saturday night from a client. They're like, they're from Alabama. They're like, we just bought an investment property in Alabama. Can you handle that? And I was like, no, but I can find you someone that can. And I did. So it's just one of those things of working for a huge company. It's very nice.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's definitely a really big thing too, to kind of have that self-awareness, that like you wanted to be able to have like some of that time back and everything to, be able to enjoy with family and friends and, enjoy it yourself,
Oh yeah.
and to kind of see, that you might have wanted to change.
Yeah, no, it was definitely like even so one of my guy I grew up with, we've known each other since we were like 5. He was the strength and conditioning coach at the last school I was at, and I was the athletic trainer. And he's like, dude, you just got to find something new. He's like, you can see it on your face. He's like, you're still really good at what you do, but you're just burnt out. And that's what happens in our field a lot. We kind of, we go into it knowing it's a grind, and you really have to love the profession and love what you do day in and day out. And I did for a long time. And then it just finally kind of took a toll on me. But I would never have changed anything. Like I loved what I did. I loved where I went to school for it, and all my friends and like colleagues along the way. I miss the kids every day. I was like, they're like my own kids. I always joked like, when are you going to have your own kids? And said, I got 1,500 of you guys already. I got to take care of every day. So it was really cool. The relationships I had and the kind of influence I had with them. Cause I was like, not a teacher, not a coach. So I was like kind of in the middle. They came to me with a lot of just like college questions and like just overall life stuff. So I wore a lot of hats in that field and I still kind of do now. So it's cool.
Yeah. That's definitely really cool, to be able to be that, kind of person, for those kids all the way up to, like the college level sports and stuff like that. That's, to be that kind of guidance counselor, I guess you could say.
Yeah. It's kind of what I was. Every day was different. I mean, I'd have to deal with I never really had a set schedule. Every day would kind of come in and things would just be like, all right, this is what's on the docket. And I had to be prepared for like the unknown, I guess. Cause I'm sitting there watching games and there's some days where I don't talk to a single person, but there's also some days where I have to call 911 and like triage situations because kids get hurt. So it was pretty wild some days, but no, I definitely, you're right about the self-awareness part. I'm lucky I was able to get out when I did and not regret staying somewhere too long.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's huge.
Yep.
What is your drive and vision for the long term? Whether it was, like way back then or what it is now or, kind of the change in between.
Yeah, the biggest thing is I just want to be happy, like doing whatever I'm doing, and I mean that's really all I've ever focused on, and what I did, no matter what type of job it was. It was starting out as a kid, and I worked at a golf course, and I just enjoyed it, and it was the same thing with athletic training, and then the same thing now. Sure, some days are a grind, like when people aren't answering their phones, or you got a cold call a lot and stuff like that, especially when you're starting out. But as you start to grow and your name gets out there and people start to refer you, I mean, it feels good. It feels good when people are happy and you did the right thing. And at the end of the day, that's really what drives me, is just to be happy and really to help people. Vision for the long term, I'm just trying to keep growing. I mean, keep meeting people, doing things like this, connecting with you and other like-minded individuals. That's my favorite thing to do, like in the world, is network. I know it's a question later on, but we'll get into that more. But I love talking to people. I always have. My wife makes fun of me because I make small talk with everybody, like no matter who it is. I just always have, and I think that's important, and because you never know how you can help someone. Like if someone's like, hey, I need a landscaper, like they're just in conversation and I'm just like, oh, hey, I got a guy. Like that's why I like to have that arsenal. So
yeah, it's a ton of fun, to kind of be that connector and be able to help people out, like in different ways like that. And because I mean, the way that I kind of see, doing something like that is like, you get the satisfaction out of helping that person. That person, potentially gets an opportunity, from a referral from you. And then the person being referred, like the landscape would be happy too, because you thought of him. And it seems like everybody's happy. You know what I mean? At least for the opportunity, like even if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like karma. I mean, you give, eventually it'll come back. And if it doesn't, that's okay. It's just, you did the right thing in the moment. And that's really how I try to live and kind of be out there.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it really is such a powerful thing, and then like just kind of helping those people out and everything. And
no, exactly. It's I mean, I like, if you asked me you really wanted to introduce like meet somebody, make a connection and really get that can help your business, I'm going to be like, yeah, absolutely. Go through my LinkedIn, go through my phone contacts. If you want to meet someone, have at it. I'll make the introduction.
Yep.
And that's, I think, what's the most important thing, especially starting out. And I mean, people helped me out that way when I was first getting going. And that's how I still try to do now.
Yeah. There really is a lot of power in it, and like, you never know what can come out of those relationships too.
No, never. And that exactly. And that's exactly, like we talked on the phone. I can remember a long time ago, like in the summer of last year, and then just stayed in touch randomly throughout the year and always checking in and see if you needed anything, or same thing with me. And you would send me messages, and it's just it's one of those things that if I ever see, I'm going to be like, yeah, no, you should meet Kyle. He's just got good energy and likes to talk and network, and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, same to you, definitely.
But
wow. What are your thoughts on building relationships and expanding your network? I know we just kind of hit on this quite a bit, but
that's the biggest thing. I wish I mean, it's pretty crazy when you're starting off in any type of world that's like for me, insurance, or you real estate, or really anything. never really know what your natural network's going to bring. So you always ask, like, if someone just bought a home and you're like, well, what's the mortgage lender like? Did you have a good experience? Or did you just, for me at least, did you just buy a car? Like, what was your experience like there? Can I get an introduction there? And it's just, you just always ask and build. And that's how you get your name out there. You meet people. And that's how, like, for me, at least, that's how I generate business is I like to connect with real estate and mortgage lenders and try to help out their home buyers or refis and things like that with their insurance and make sure they're covered and have no issues and can sleep well at night. And then I like forming those relationships and being an asset and be a little part of the team and just play a small role in some people's major life moments.
100%. Yeah. And, even like just to kind of put yourself out there, because people are constantly buying, houses, cars, whatever, like situations change. And, just to kind of like have the vision of being like the guy, you know what I mean? Like, to be able to cover everything and yeah.
Yeah, no, I think expanding your network's the biggest thing. You can't be too set. It never ends. Like, you always got to be checking in and really attending events and it really, that is a full-time job in itself. And that's and it's a lot of fun. You have to really love that aspect of it. I mean, eventually, hopefully you don't really have to do a ton of it, but it's still important to check in and maintain those relationships, because you can't just get complacent, and because there's always someone else out there that wants the same thing. So it's always a battle, and especially when you first start, and can be frustrating, but especially the last year, I mean, we can't really meet in person, so those things take some time, and that's been the hardest part of trying to generate new relationships, because Zoom's great for those to hop on a call, but nothing beats meeting someone in person and trying to connect that way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
See, the thing that's kind of interesting with that though is, like meeting people over Zoom and stuff like that. I feel like it's kind of like an introduction, but I totally agree with you. Like, nothing beats like, going out for coffee or going out for lunch or something, and just getting that like different connection. Like it's not like a, it's kind of like a half connection kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I understand what you're saying, because you can Zoom, like I said, Zoom's great, super easy, convenient, and everything. But at the end of the day, that's where when you actually meet someone, you make those personal connections and those feelings, and you can tell, like, this is someone like I want to do business with, or this is someone like I would refer to, and things like that. So that's really the biggest thing and that's been the hardest part over the last year, and change. And now we're starting to open up and be able to meet more. But I mean, before, it was crazy that it just never was, like, couldn't do anything. It was weird.
I know.
It was so strange.
See,
I can't believe it's already April. I know. I can't believe it's almost May. Like, we've been in this for since last March. So it's like 13 months. It's crazy.
It really is,
Yeah. Like, I haven't even been in the office since then. I haven't done, we're not even slated to go back until June-ish. As of right now, it's just crazy.
Yeah. It's definitely a different world now. You know what I mean? I feel like it might like kind of open up the eyes a little bit in terms of like, like how can I adapt like my kind of organization, like to be able to work a lot more remotely, and pay like, less for office expenses and stuff like that. And, I feel like it just kind of, I guess, opens up some eyes, to see like, I don't know. I think it's just kind of interesting, like, kind of how that worked with like the business aspect, to see like what kind of processes and people and stuff, can still function, a lot more at home. And then to see if like they work more efficiently at home because, they might not be in an office, or like less efficient because they're at their home, just like I'm kind of curious to see like some of the data, to see kind of how something like that has worked like across different industries.
No, it's funny you talk about that. I have a lot of friends that work in different offices in different settings, and some people thrive and some people can't do it. And it's obviously depends on like your setup at home. Like, a lot of my friends live in the city, so they don't have like a huge home office or anything like that. So being in Boston or even New York is pretty tough on them. But I think a lot of companies, from what I gather, like some of my friends work for tech companies, they're going to give them like an option and go like a hybrid model where they don't have to, they have each, say there's like 50 people in your office, like 10 will come in, like they'll rotate kind of schedule. So like it'll be like 2 days a week at an office, 3 days at home. I think you're going to see a lot of that going forward. And I think, I mean, as long as you're when it comes to like a sales role, I mean, as long as you're putting up numbers, they're really not going to care what kind of what you're doing or where you are. And I think that's the biggest thing. But
Yeah.
once you start to like slack or go or anything like that, I mean, that's going to be where it's time to worry. But I think the last year has proved that a lot of people can work from home, and I don't think anyone's ever thought of it before, that like massive office spaces aren't going to be really needed anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be really interesting, to see kind of how things shift, like especially, even like in the next couple of months,
Yeah.
just to kind of see what happens and, businesses being created in the future and adapting. And it's definitely a curveball, kind of in that department.
Oh yeah, but now you got people that kind of realize that they can work from literally anywhere. Like we have a
Yeah.
friend that was down in Florida a couple weeks ago. He got married. Him and his fiance were both living in like downtown Manhattan, like gorgeous little place there. And then we're getting married in Florida, where she's from, and it was like the weekend of like everything shut down. Like that pandemic happened, it was like the 12th or the 13th, whatever day it was.
Yeah.
And that was when they got married. So everyone coming home in the airport was like all like, what's going on? Like, where are we even coming? Are we even able to go back to work, or like what's going on? They stayed down there, and then he drove back up, packed up their apartment in New York, and drove back down and never left Florida. They just stayed down there. They've been down there ever since.
That's
And that's
crazy.
yeah, they bought a house, and they're like, he works from Microsoft. He's like, I can do whatever. And he's like, I can work from wherever. And same with her. And it's just, I think you're going to see a lot of people and a lot of companies doing that, which is good and bad, because of like, if you can hire like a software engineer and live in the Midwest and pay him a Midwest salary, it's going to save big companies money, because you're not paying like San Francisco or New York. So it is going to be interesting when it comes to that type of stuff too, where if people can work from anywhere, like why is rent they're gonna pay $4,000 a month for a 700 square foot apartment
Yeah.
in San Francisco? So I guess it's going to be interesting in that regard of what happens really in the real estate market and office space. It's going to be nuts to see.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Yeah, definitely right. Even in terms of like, across the world, like what
Yeah.
if you had like, like what if now like you're able to hire people from, like China or, like different kind of places over there, and
Yeah.
still work as efficiently as, somebody like the next street over from the company, like it's just I feel like it can kind of keep you thinking for hours, like the possibilities now.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the cool part about working from home is, I mean, yeah, you're definitely like always on, but it's also, if I can't get to work at 9, I have stuff going on, like I can shift my day around, and I think people are realizing the benefits of that too. And it also gives people that aren't, like, their bodies just don't function well at 9 to 5. You can work from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. and still get the same amount of work done. And
Yeah.
so I think you're going to see a lot of people that I still love like my science and stuff. So I read a lot about sleep and everything. And there's people's bodies that are just night owls. And there a lot of people couldn't find work because of that, because they're like, what they wanted to do was a 9 to 5. And I think you're going to see a lot of people be able to access different careers now because of being able to work from home. And I think that's going to be pretty interesting too.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I kind of want to look a little more into that, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Like,
That sounds pretty cool.
I mean, I texted you this morning at like 4:45. Like I'm most productive like 5. Like I get up, I work out, and I'm most productive from like that time frame till like 2 p.m. And like that's when I thrive. Um, but after like afternoons, I save my time. That's when I save it all for networking, because that's the most fun stuff to do.
Yeah.
And so then I also like have something to look forward to throughout the day. So like when I'm tired and don't really want to like do the tedious things, I don't have to, because it's already all done. But there's other people that are the polar opposite of me. Like one of my best friends there's sometimes he'll text me at like 1. He's like, I just got up, and I'm like, he's like, I worked until 3 a.m. and I just went to bed then. It's what he does. And it's just like he's been like that since we were little though. So it's just one of those things that some people have a different body clock, and that's when he's like, I'm most productive then. So he's like, why can't I just work then?
Yeah. That's
So it's
super interesting. You never
yeah.
really thought about something like that before.
Yeah, everybody's pretty different. And I mean, that's just me still having like my health and science background of what I grew up with. And I like to read, and kind of still like that type of things are super interesting to me.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to do a little bit of research on that. And honestly, like, not to kind of go down another rabbit hole, but like, who came up with 9 to 5? Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought about that all the time. Because like, why not just have a 4 day work week and let us have 3 day weekends and stuff like that? And
Yeah.
it's just,
Who thought of this?
yeah, exactly. And like they even sometimes like one of your questions later on, and we can talk. It's a really good book. I'll bring it up later, but it brings up that like creating that urgency really all the time. So you're never really like, why can't even my work days be shorter if I can get as much done in 4 hours as 8 hours if it's just condensed? Like, why do I have to work 8? Like people, there's been arguments with that. I know there was a city or a district in North Carolina that like just switched to 4 day work weeks. They're like, no, we're good, or at least they experimented with it. Like, and I know companies like Raytheon, they do 9 hour days and you have every other Friday off, and things like that. It's like, why not? I mean, if you can get
Yeah.
more done in 4 10 hour days, like that's what my wife used to do at the physical therapy clinic before she left. She did 4 10s and then had every Friday off. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I would happily do that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, but that is interesting. I mean, whoever started the 9 to 5 is just one of those things. It's ingrained in our heads that that's the right thing to do, and sometimes, and I think this last year, it's people are kind of starting to think differently and think that it's not.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah,
What?
I can go off on a lot of tangents, but continue. We'll get back to track.
I don't blame you, man. I definitely, I'm going to do a little bit of research on that kind of stuff. I'm super interested in, kind of hearing you talk about that. And
Oh yeah, nature.com is a great website. It's just about posts a lot of science stuff, and it's been a really good for the last year about like just COVID, but also just any other thing that's going on in the world of like health and like wilderness and nature and what they're finding out there. Nature.com is great for that type of stuff. It's all peer reviewed articles and journals. It's really good.
it sounds pretty cool. I'll have to check it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
What do you consider to be the biggest variable in expanding your clientele?
Just meeting people. I mean, trying to if you can help someone in a certain community and you do really well, and they know people, like, and then they'll connect you to their friends and their family, and I've seen that with if it's a tight knit group of like just from one country or one ethnicity or anything like that. I mean, it you can definitely get in there, and that's the biggest thing, is just trying to help everybody. You got to be open to conversations, and you can never turn them down. Which, I mean, even if I'm just sitting here doing like random little like trainings, I'll keep my phone line open all day, and just whoever calls like our office, if it comes in, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to take the conversation and see if I can help them in any way. And I think that's the biggest thing, and that's what's helped me out over the last year when we couldn't really do anything, and just expanding my clientele, and just trying to meet people, and if they don't speak English, trying to find the right person that I can connect them with that can, and help them in certain ways. Or like, I remember in a career prior, I couldn't, it was meeting face to face. I didn't know American Sign Language. So we just wrote everything down, and that's how we communicated. And just little things like that, kind of thinking outside the box on how to do that. So that's really the biggest thing. It's just being open to conversations, and that's how you expand your clientele. You can never be closed off. You really got to be open for everything.
Yeah, you're definitely right. To just kind of get like as many opportunities as you can to, to do what you have to do. And like you said, kind of adapt to those different kind of cases that come up. So I'm not sure if you do it now, but we were talking about like the cold calling earlier.
Oh yeah.
Have were you cold calling during like the COVID, like, once everything shut down?
Oh yeah, I still do. I have my Salesforce and we get leads and people that either come on like websites and do quotes, and we get their information. We call them and we talk to them, and they're just old, like whatever, and it's just part of the job, and it's how you try to get comfortable doing it, and it does. Sometimes it's definitely a grind, and that's really the hardest part. But other than that, I mean, it's really it's part of the job.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I definitely do it still. No, that's my fault. I definitely still do it every day.
That's awesome. It
Yeah.
definitely is a really tough thing to start to get used to. Like I was
Yep.
extremely afraid of it. And I just kind of started doing it, within like the past 6 months,
Yep. Oh yeah.
for like the real estate aspect. And it definitely is tough to get used to. But once you kind of start going, it gets a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, it's never fun like getting yelled at or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're probably never going to meet these people that are upset at you, and it's just part of the job. And what's helped me is someone talked to me about it's like cognitive. I'll send you some articles. Cognitive. I'm going to butcher the last part, but you basically had to like disarm people when you cold call them.
Yep.
And instead of being like, "Hi, this is Kyle from Liberty Mutual," whoever you're calling, say you're calling someone named Mark, you just say, "Hi, is this Mark?" And it's just like it kind of disarms them right away, and then they can actually carry into the conversation a little bit better. So I've seen better success utilizing some of that stuff when it comes to cold calling,
Mhm.
and even like texting people. Like some people would rather communicate that way, and I'll do the same thing, and it does work out. But if you can kind of just say disarm them a little bit, so they're not, why is this person calling me? It's you picked up the phone for a reason. Let's see if it's if I can get you to stay on longer than 10 seconds before you
Yeah.
hear I'm from Liberty Mutual and you hang up on me.
Yeah, that's definitely true, man. I
Yeah.
feel like it's pretty interesting with cold calling too, to be able to experiment with stuff like that and kind of figure out, like what works for you and like, what gets you to that like 11-second mark,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like in the call and everything. And like I feel like it's a really quick turnaround to be able to have like, an idea or like, maybe want to change something around a little bit and be able to put it to test like instantly, and see if like what kind of reactions you get. And I think it's really interesting, like if, people can kind of like get over that fear. I feel like it can definitely be really rewarding.
Oh, absolutely. You're spot on. And that's, you just got to get comfortable. And that's the hardest part is pushing yourself in different ways. I've, ex- you also just have to be in the right mindset to do it. You can't just be like, all right, I have to do these calls just
Yeah.
because like I need to get like my dials up, or like just because like you got to be
Yep.
like, all right, you got to be. And it's funny, I've read people like put mirrors in front of their computer or their phone so they can see their face. So like if you're smiling, you're presenting a little bit differently than if you're like upset or in a grind, and you're going to be like a little bit more closed off and not as open and not sound as good as you normally would. And that's huge. I mean, I've never done that, but I've read people that have pretty good success in just seeing their own faces talking to someone on the phone, just because it's going to change their demeanor. And I think that's pretty cool too. But yeah, it's just trying different things. And if you notice something's not working, chances are there's a reason why, and you need to do some self-reflection. And even when I first started, my manager would like sit next to me, or listen to my phones, and she would just be like, "All right, it's like playing a sport. You got to go back and listen to the tape, watch the tape, and we can go over like how and everything." And definitely, you're very nervous when you first start, and you can hear it in your voice, and you're questioning, and
Yeah.
then eventually you just get comfortable, and it's just like having a conversation.
Yep. Yeah,
And that's the
definitely.
biggest thing. Hey, you can't come off. Got to be a little pleasant and not very pushy in the beginning. And then most of the time, if you're just kind of relaxed, they'll relax. And then sometimes people just want to have a conversation too. And I've talked to end up talking to sometimes with cold calls for like a half an hour, and not even just about random, not like what we're doing, going off on tangents and down rabbit holes, and not even about insurance or why I called them in the first place.
Yeah. It's pretty cool when that happens too. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you were making like a ton of calls right before that.
Yep. Oh yeah. But then those are the times where like you go on like a heater of not getting answers and getting voicemails or getting hung up on, and then someone picks up and wants to talk. You kind of panic,
Yeah.
and you're like, what do I do? Someone actually wants to talk to me. Oh my God. You have to like, I have to like pull up I have to like, all right, settle down, like get the household up, whatever, like get your notes ready. And I'm
Yeah.
like, your heart rate's like going nuts, because it's like I haven't talked to anybody in 45 minutes, and now all of a sudden someone wants to talk. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's happened. I mean, that happens like once a week, and I'm just like, yep, okay, it's that time, so I gotta figure it out. But it's pretty funny.
Yeah. I feel like one thing that I kind of came across with the cold calling that like kind of really stuck out was that no two calls are actually like connected. So like they're like separate opportunities. Like, if one person told you, to go screw yourself or, whatever in probably more profane language,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
the next one might be, like this really sweet person, who is willing to have a conversation. And like those literally aren't related at all,
Oh yeah.
and once I kind of realized that, I'm like, oh, okay. Like literally every single opportunity is different,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And someone told me once that uh one no is closer to your next yes. And that's kind of how I've always looked at it. And it's the rule of sales. I mean, you got to talk to 100, you call 100 people, 10% might answer the phone, and that 10% of that 10% might want to actually talk to you. So you're talking about one or two people. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. And that's been, it truly is a numbers game when it comes to that, but you're spot on. No two calls are ever the same. So it's definitely one of those things in the beginning where someone tells you to get bent and like and hang up the phone, and then
Yeah.
but the next one is just like, all right, you just got to brush it off and go on to the next one. You can't take it personal.
Yeah. I feel like that right there, honestly, is the biggest thing, not to take it personal. Like this is literally just business, like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And just be able to kind of walk away from it, and be like, all right, whatever, like just keep going.
Yeah. Cause I mean, I guess I put myself, I mean, do you like to answer the phone when random numbers are calling you that you don't know? Like, it's one of those things. It's like, I know I don't like it. Like if they leave me a voicemail, I'll call them back. Or if it's like a number I recognize, well, nowadays, unfortunately, I could get a lot of random people calling my cell phone for insurance, but that's besides the point. But if it's a number, like I'll be like, number doesn't look familiar. It's not saved. Like I'll let it go to voicemail. And it's still one of those things. It's like, is this someone trying to sell me something, or is it something else? But it's just, I completely put myself in those people's shoes, and I understand why they are like, why are you calling me? Or like, where did you get my information from?
Yeah,
And that's the funniest part.
it is.
Yep.
um what is the most important lesson that you have learned over your career?
So it's a saying I've kind of known for a while, but it really boded well with like a new career and making a transition, was just get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like you got to put your, if that's how you're going to grow as a person and in your career, is those little uncomfortable moments of like where it's okay to say you don't know, and like you have to get back to someone, and you're not, and it's okay to ask for help. Like those are the times where, and what I've realized doing this is that it's what you have to do. Like you're going to have more respect if someone's calling you and be like, you know what, that's a great question, I actually don't know, let me get back to you, as opposed to trying to lie your way through and being wrong. And same thing with, if and that, just asking for help. Like when I first started learning systems and everything like that, just everyone in my office, like everyone always says they're willing to help, but you never, most of the time you never want to ask. But if you actually ask, everyone's going to want to help you, and that's the biggest thing, is be a little bit uncomfortable, and that's how you're going to grow. And never be afraid to ask for help. Those are probably the two biggest things I've in my career that I wish I could have told myself a long time ago to actually like buy into and believe, and not be so stubborn.
Yeah, that really is a big thing. It takes, a certain kind of mindset to be able to, kind of do that and ask for help, and
Yeah,
not
no,
just try to like figure it out on your own and everything. And
yeah, no, it's I think what they call it, like a growth mindset. So it's you're
yeah,
always you're open to new ideas and new things, and that's how you just get better as a person and as a professional. And I think that's going to translate. Like it doesn't even make a difference if you're reading or listening to a podcast, for could be something completely different, but if it opens your eyes to something new, it might translate to you in your professional career. And I think that's huge too. But it's always being open to learn and listen to people talk, and because like what something might just randomly click when you're listening to like the radio or an ad or something. And it's
yeah,
just always being like open to things, and never be too closed off, because we're always evolving, and the world's evolving, and our professions are changing every day. So that's what you have to really do.
yeah. I feel like that's a really big one, kind of that you just hit on. Even like, listening to like different podcasts that you're used to, or, just putting on the radio or something.
Yep.
Like watching TV or whatever, like there might be things that randomly just click with you that are totally like applicable to, the profession or like the company or whatever that you're doing. And it's super interesting, just to kind of see it from like another set of eyes, and like, oh, that worked this way. Like, how can I translate that into like, what I'm doing? And like, that's, it's really cool when stuff like that happens, to kind of take a break from what you're used to and maybe like something that's directly related to your field, and just kind of like, even enjoy something else, like just to, change things up a little bit. And all of a sudden something hits, like, all right, like I can totally change things with that, for what I'm doing. And like just to, yeah, I mean, just to kind of enjoy different things, and sometimes you can pick gems from them.
Oh yeah, you're spot on. And that's the biggest thing is you just got to listen. Like one of the best things I've ever learned from I've been in like the CrossFit and strength and conditioning world for 10 years or so now too. And a guy, he's super successful, he's a really good friend of mine. He told me, he's like, when I started coaching, he's like, look, he's like, you could be having the worst day of your life. The people that are coming in don't care. They just, all they're here to do is work out, and this is like their hour. So always be, no matter what's going on personal, like try to be happy and engaging with them. And he's like, and that's how you're gonna learn and just grow. Like you're gonna be able to actually like learn from them and treat every person there. And it's the same thing in our jobs. Like if you're having a bad day, person on the other phone line is not going to care,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's just how it is, and that they're not like, they're your friends and your family. So it's like you got to be able to put that stuff on the
Aside.
back burner and kind of, and just kind of and that helped me out a lot of just like, it's just another day, and you just got to, and it help, and you are uncomfortable, but you got to be okay with that. And that's helped me out a lot too, is I'm just trying to make everyone else's day a little bit easier and a little bit better. And that mindset's also helped me out a ton.
Yeah, that definitely is, a huge one, to be able to kind of put like those personal things aside, because it
Yep.
definitely isn't easy sometimes. But I mean, like if, you kind of have that mentality of, whether it's like down in the dumps or whatever, or, things are
Yeah,
going on. And then, when you start cold calling people, you're not going to have the same like bouncy, energetic kind of
exactly.
tone. And, I feel like your chances of like doing something are cut in half,
Oh
just
yeah.
because it's,
It's just all your tone of voice. And if
yeah,
like, so like say I'm having like a really bad week on the sales side of things, and I'm just trying to get some sort of numbers in. If I'm like, if I'm stressed or anxious about that, like someone can tell on the phone. And it's
yeah,
if like I'm trying to be a little bit, my mannerisms are a little pushy or things like that, they're gonna be able to tell, and they're gonna be turned off by that. And so it's just one of those things. You just got to be yourself, and just have conversations. Like not every day is gonna go according to plan, and that's the biggest thing.
yep, that's huge.
Yeah.
Ooh, Kyle, how do you define wealth?
Oof. I mean, obviously there's like the actual definition of it, but that's not really what I look at. I kind of don't even really, my wife always jokes. She's like, how much, like, how's your week going? Like what are we, I'm like, honestly, I have no idea. Like I always tried to focus on, just kind of being in the moment and being happy. And that's really what I consider wealth. Like I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I'm upright and breathing. And that's really the biggest things for me. That's what I look at as wealth. Um, like I have a healthy family, and that's what I look at. And that's what's gonna get me like the actual definition of wealth, in my opinion. And that's kind of what I've always looked at.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's pretty interesting to see, you know, kind of like how things just kind of like naturally balance out. Like if you're happy, like your family's happy, everybody's happy. Like I feel like, sometimes that can translate over to, like your day job or whatever. And like things just kind of balance out, like the exercise and everything too. Like, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all part of it. Like if you're like, there was definitely a stretch last year where like like mental health kind of took a toll, and I was just like, this is like, just in that huge stretch where everything was shut down. I've got a son that's kind of like in that weird stage of like before he could crawl, so he's still trying to figure stuff out, and like stressed at work because obviously things aren't open up, so I can't really do much. And it was just I could see it carry over to like just how I was, like I thought I was okay, but it was just like I could see it, how I was affecting like my relationships with people.
Yeah.
And being able to take a step back and do some, and kind of reflect on like the situation in the moment, and realize that like I was not okay, and I need to figure that out, and like why am I feeling like this. And sometimes, for me at least, I try to control too many things that I can't control, and like and that's when I really I'll start to get like a little bit anxious and things like that. So if I focus on what I can do, and doing that the best at that, then that's really where I'm going to end up seeing the wealth in the long run.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like that's definitely a big thing too, is like trying to control things that aren't necessarily controllable. I know I definitely, kind of struggle with that, like trying to, do everything and stuff. And some things just aren't in your control. They're going to fall the way that they're going to fall. And like things are just going to happen.
Yeah. No. And then what I've learned in the last year is that it's okay to say no. I've always been like a yes person and a people pleaser. And sometimes you just can't, and you just got to be, and people will have a lot more respect for you if you say, like, no, I don't have the time, or like, no, I can't do it. And you won't really get like walked over or anything like that. So I've learned that as well. And that's contributed to my, like that same mindset. And I think that's going to really bring you the actual definition of wealth down the line. Because it's never built and it's never overnight. Well, I mean, I guess it can be nowadays with our lovely cryptocurrency and the Reddit stocks, but those are still few and far between, because it really makes you think that. I mean, you can even say there's people out there that say that money is really not even a thing. It doesn't even mean anything. And this is proof. But no, other than that, the wealth is definitely a long game, and you got to be happy along the way.
Yeah, it really is. It's not sustainable when you're not happy.
No, it makes everything miserable. I mean, why do you want to? It literally just makes everything miserable. I mean, I had a friend that went to the Sloan School at MIT for business, wanted to be an investment banker. Like that was he was like, I'm going to do the grind for a couple of years. I'm going to come out making like $750,000 a year and like plus bonuses. And he got there, and I don't know if you're familiar with that. He's like got the job. He's started, and he's getting in there at like 6 a.m, leaving at like 11 at night, like every day. And even on weekends for the first year. And he's just like, I'm miserable. And he finally was just like, I'm out. He's like, took another job, and now he's out in California, like enjoying life and doing it the way it's supposed to be done, as opposed to what he was. And it was just like, and that's the thing. You got to realize that you're supposed to be happy in what you're doing. Otherwise, literally everything feels like work.
Yeah. That's so crazy too. You know what I mean? Like just to kind of like, go through all that and like kind of have that vision, just to kind of find out that, it isn't really, it doesn't really make you happy, and you don't really know until you do it. Right.
Yeah. And I think some people chase like a paycheck or a status thing when it comes to things like that, as opposed to looking at like what actually makes them happy. Like it could be they're chasing something like that, but it could be just being like, I want to make music or paint. And that's not, if you're not chasing your passion, then, or some form of it, then like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of a thing that like people have to think about all the time, but at the end of the day, it's really just what makes you happy. And that's going to carry over to your wealth in the long run.
It really is. That's so true. What are the most effective resources that have helped you the most so far on your journey?
Probably like the people in my office that have been there for really long and successful, and even just meeting other people in the insurance industry. I know you've had Jose on here before, talking to him.
Yeah. Yep.
He's been around forever. He's a serial networker like myself, and I kind of listen to him and see what he does with social media and things like that. We're lucky we have like monthly things, or even sometimes even bi-weekly, where they'll bring in other successful reps that have really just like are always consistent, and they give us little tips and tricks. I mean, it's really just got to listen, and you take something from that conversation and you try it and you see if it works for you. And that's really what's going to make you successful in what you do, is listening to those people that had some success and trying what they try, no matter if you think it's not going to work. Just like little things. And if it doesn't work for you, that's great, but at least you give it a shot and you can say you tried.
Yeah, those are really big, even like just to kind of test out, like you said, kind of what works for you. Like, doing this, if this sticks with you, if this is like your thing, then great. Like you've literally seen it work. Like, at least with that person that might have mentioned it to you, maybe you try it out, maybe it doesn't really work for you. Okay, whatever. So just like keep trying, the next things that people mention, and eventually something's going to stick, and the sky's the limit.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is your process can never be like set in stone. Like, sure, you can have some rocks in there that stay, but I mean, this last year has proved it. You have to be able to adjust on the fly, and you got to kind of always, I guess, not really like, I mean, obviously there's some super successful people that never have to change a thing because they've been around for so long, but when you're younger and just starting out and things like that. You got to be able to adapt. And we've even seen it here. Like, so I use a lot of videos and things with clients, but also social media. Like, if I were to ever bind your policies, you're going to get an email from me that's going to have a thank you video and kind of explaining like the next steps and little tips and tricks about insurance. And I also use it for like educational purposes to talk about like what exactly homeowners insurance is, what about what's a deductible, and like the importance of things. And you see we have one of the most successful reps in the country in our office, and he's been around forever. And now he's starting to use video and sending it out to people or posting it. And he never has to, but he's just adapting and trying something new because he wants to see if it'll change his business a little bit. And it's pretty cool to see how everyone, no matter how long you've been in it, has to change a little bit every now and then. And then that's the biggest thing I've learned with that type of thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's, you do kind of have to adapt as things change. Things are always going to change, whether it's like, a new social media platform to hop on, or, like just how to get yourself out there, to your demographic as much as possible. And one thing isn't going to stick for like 50 years, I mean, like there's always going to be, I guess, more things to try out and see if they work for you. And, if not, whatever. But yeah, like just to always keep moving and keep adapting.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest thing. And truly successful people will do that. And then there's other people that just won't. And I mean, and you just got to find what works for you in the time being, and then never be scared to adjust and take criticism and learn. And like I said, it comes back to that growth mindset. You just got to be able to change and adapt and grow as a person and a professional. It's really the biggest thing.
It really does.
Yeah.
Ooh. What is something that you thought about business, networking, or wealth creation that changed as you went along?
Oh man. I honestly thought in the beginning that things would have happened a little faster than they did. I wish I could go back and tell myself to start forming those relationships and networking sooner rather than later, and always be persistent with it, because that's when you start to see some, at least in my world, where you start to see business coming in, you kind of get back into your ways of just being like, oh, I'm busy, I need to quote and deal with customers and not network as much and not make those phone calls to people to check in. And those are the things you got to keep up. So I wish I could go back in time and tell myself it's going to take some time to get started and get your business running, and not get frustrated in that regard, because you want things to be happening overnight. I mean, if you're in sales, you want that instant gratification sometimes, but it is certainly both a short and long-term game. And sometimes I wish I could go back and tell myself that is really just kind of enjoy the process of things.
That's huge, to enjoy the process and just enjoy the way up. Like once in a while, just like doing the grind of, reaching out to those people and, whatever your lead generation looks like, and just, yeah, just kind of continuing what you're doing. And eventually, things are going to hit, like you get a little bit of gratification and just really enjoying it when it happens, because it's not going to happen all the time, for a while, at least. It is definitely a long-term game, but yeah, just enjoying the way up.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy the ride. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, sure, you might, like, I kind of look back at starting this and like, what did I do? Like, why did I do it? And and it's certain, like, it was a grind, and you definitely second guess, and like the grass isn't always greener and things like that. Like when I was at why did I ever leave my old career? Like I was comfortable, I was happy. Like I wasn't happy, but like it was steady paycheck, never had to worry about anything. And sure, you come out here and it's competitive, and there's a lot of us in the world that do insurance and things like that, but it's one of those things, like I had to try it. It was just like itching like I just had to like scratch the itch of I had to do it. And I'm happy I did. And I can say that like when I'm older, I never have to look back on my life and say that I didn't try it. And I never wanted to live with that.
Yeah. I feel like that's one that's kind of less talked about is, regret, like the feeling of regret, like years and years later.
Yeah.
Of, like having opportunities and then, maybe not choosing to capitalize on it or give it a shot or take the risk or whatever. But, what if, like you're, sitting in your chair like 40 years from now, 50 years from now, and you're like, oh, what would have happened if I did that? Like now you
Yep.
can't change anything. Like that's
Yeah.
terrifying, you know?
Oh, it's like it started. So my wife's a physical therapist. She was in a clinic for a long time, but I could see it like coming from the health field myself, looking at health insurance. You could see like you're not getting reimbursed as much as a clinic owner for like anything really. So the way that worked was they're going to start double booking you with people, and you're looking at like, so say you and I are going to see someone, we're going to see a PT, we might be there at the same time, so she's splitting them between the two of us, and so the clinic just needs to make money, so they're just double booking, and then it's like you're expected to do paperwork afterwards, and you're literally not even helping people anymore. So it's like the reason why you got into the field is to help people get better. So I could
Yeah.
see the writing on the wall, and I could see her, and I'm like, you're miserable. I'm like, you're literally just running around like a chicken with your head cut off, not even treating anybody. You're just talking to people, showing them like doing manual therapy because an aide can't do that, and then moving on. I'm like,
Yeah.
quit. I don't care how little money we make. Just quit your job, start your own practice so you can see people one-on-one. And that's what she's done now for, I mean, last year kind of stunk, but luckily we had our son. But other than that, it's been great for her just mentally because she tried. And that was the biggest thing. I was like, you're going to look back on this when you retire, and if you don't do it, you're going to regret it. And I don't want to be a part of that. I
Yeah.
was like, go. And it's been, like I said to her, I'm like, I don't care one bit. I could live in a cardboard box, but if you're happy doing what you're doing, like that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And that's what I never wanted her to feel like she never took a chance.
That's awesome. You know, especially to have that kind of encouragement, you know what I mean? To just take the leap and see what happens, you know? Like we'll get by, we'll survive,
Yeah.
you
And
know, and
that's it. And
yeah.
that's the thing. I think that's the biggest thing is you need someone, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that don't have that support, and the world could be different if they did, and they have these great ideas. And I think that's, even if it was just like a friend,
Yep.
and they came to me with the same thing, I'm gonna be like, look, I would tell them the same advice, like like you'll figure it out, and I'll help you. And like that's that's just kind of what I've always been like. My dad was like that, so I think that's where I got it from. And I think that's super important.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It really is a crazy thing, you know, when you
Yeah.
have somebody else to kind of push you on something that you're thinking about and to take the chance.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what you're doing. I mean, you have a full-time job on top of trying to establish yourself as a real estate like investor
Yeah.
and agent. So I mean, I know that's incredible. So I mean, you're doing the dive itself, and I'm sure you've had some people that have been like, "What are you doing? You're crazy." But at the
Hmm.
end of the day, you're scratching that itch, and that's the most important thing.
You're right. I feel like it's really huge to scratch the itch and take the risk. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, you're gonna find out a way to survive one way or the other, you know, and
absolutely.
might as well give it a shot. You know, we're not here that long, relatively speaking, you know, like might as well.
Yeah. No, I can't. That's what I've learned, and that's what I've seen, and no, I mean that's really the biggest thing.
It definitely is. What values are most important to you when it comes to doing business?
Just doing the right thing. I mean, doing the right thing by the customer, doing the right thing, like just morally and ethically. That's really the biggest thing. I mean, that's what the company preaches, but that's how I would do it anyway. So not changing data to get someone a cheaper rate, things like that. I mean, there's obviously ways that we can go about it, but that's just doing the right thing. I mean, that's that. If you do the right thing in the world and do it every day, it's gonna not only in business but life. It's gonna be the best way to do things.
It's so true. I
Yep.
feel like, you know, like it kind of, if you're not doing the right thing, you know, in like whatever, you know, field you're in or whatever, like eventually, you know, you're going to get exposed, you know, whether you're doing things out of like the wrong intentions or the right intentions. And there's only one of them that's actually sustainable long term.
Yep.
You know,
No,
that's like you said, doing it the right way, you know.
you're spot on. I mean, why not? I mean, obviously, sure, and maybe in the short term, it's going to be good for you and everything, but no, just do the right thing. I mean, that's how we probably should be living anyway in the world, but sometimes it's easier to take the easy way out instead of the hard way, and that's the thing.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, last but not least question, Kyle. Do you read, and what is your favorite business, investing, or real estate book that you would recommend to anyone?
So I do read. I read and listen to a lot of podcasts. I think I have it here. Oh, it's right here. So this is the one I just finished. It's called The 12-Week Year.
Ooh.
And it's by Brian Moran, and it just is about basically treating every quarter like a year. So you have, how like at the end of every business year, there's a lot of urgency and everything to get all your numbers in, but it's basically treating each 12-week period like that. And so you're able to create the urgency all the time. So you never have to like really struggle at the end to try to generate everything. You're doing that all year. So it's that one, that was really good. And I take a lot of it to my day, and that's kind of how I structure everything. And it's freed up a lot of time too, just in my week, to do things like this and connect and network a lot more, just because I'm not like scrolling on social media or like getting up from my desk. Like I have rocks in my schedule and I stick to it. And I think that's been super beneficial too, for me.
Yeah, I've heard really, really good things about that book. I haven't read that one yet, but I'll definitely throw it on the list.
It's definitely really good, and it's pretty easy to read. I mean, I would just I read it at night or like in the first thing in the morning when I'm having coffee or whatnot. But that was the one I read most recently. But other than that, I don't really read a ton of like business or investing, like maybe some sales books when I first started. But I tend to read more for pleasure and listen to podcasts and stuff in that regard, about like health, wellness, nutrition, and things like that, to kind of take my mind off of work and try to unwind as best I can. So I can turn it off a little bit, but that never really happens.
Yep. Yeah, that book definitely sounds really cool. It sounds like a really interesting perspective, to kind of look at things like a lot differently like that. And, that sounds really cool. Definitely check that out, guys.
Yeah, no, everyone should. I mean, I think it's important in general, just because you do have short and long-term goals, but I mean, who says they can't be done sooner rather than later, as opposed to be like, all right, well, I have a whole year to do this, as opposed to like, all right, I only have like a business quarter or 6 months to achieve these goals. You're always going to feel that, I don't want to say pressure, but it is like, if you're stressed, like at least in my world, if you don't have stress in your life, it's probably not a good thing. Like you need to always have that little bit of stress feeling, because you're trying to produce, you're trying to make money and try to get as many and help as many people as you can. So that's really the end of the day, is always having that sense of like urgency. And now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Nah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on here, Kyle. It really was a pleasure, man. You have a super cool story, and it's really, really cool what you're doing. Is there kind of anywhere on social media that you can be reached?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, just Kyle Hicks, but then also I have an Instagram. It's just Kyle_Hicks_LM. It's just where I post like all my really my life. I mean, between my son, my family, my dog, and more about insurance. But that's where you can find me and connect. And I'm happy to do that in really any way.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely link kind of like your insurance stuff as well, like any phone numbers or anything. So
yeah,
we'll put you there.
Easiest way to get in touch with me is my cell phone. It's going to be a Connecticut zip code, but you can always call or text me with anything.
Sweet. Yeah, guys, definitely go check out Kyle. He's a really good guy doing some really cool stuff. And again, thank you so much for coming on, Kyle. It really was a pleasure, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I can't believe that hour flew by. That was wild. But no, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. It was always good catching up too.
All right, guys, that concludes our Creating Wealth podcast episode for today. I want to thank every single person that has listened this far. It really means a lot to know that people can learn from me and with me as we build wealth together. Hopefully you can take home at least one thing from this podcast that will improve your life just a little bit. If you could, please check me out on social. That's at Kyle Curtin Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on Biggerpockets. Until next time, let's build together.